What's up everybody, Swillow here, and today I'm going to do my first guide for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I want to talk about Cloud in this guide and give you some combat tips. So first off, let me explain like his general playstyle. He's a pretty balanced character and he's pretty capable in every situation, which makes sense because he's the main character. He's going to be in your party basically the whole game. So he's well suited for a lot of situations. And his standard fighting style consists of two modes, which is operator mode and punisher mode. Now operator mode, as you'll learn this all at the very start of the game, but I'm going to go over it anyways and give like some little tips about it. So operator mode is his mobility mode. He can move at normal or a faster speed during it, and he has like quicker, less committed attacks during it. So what makes operator mode really strong is that when you lock onto an enemy, you're able to do like a long range lunging strike to initiate combat, which when I go into battle later I'll kind of talk more about that. But operator mode is great for initiating offense for Cloud as he can do it from a very long range. It gives him good mobility and good offense in that regard. And then he can also go into a number of other options, such as going into his Punisher stance, which when you trigger Punisher stance during operator stance, it will actually have like a certain window of frames in which Cloud can counter incoming physical attacks. So if you see an enemy coming up to you while you're in operator mode, you can then switch to Punisher mode and counter. It's kind of like a parry slash just frame sort of timing. It's fairly lenient, like it's not like a super strict timing, but there's definitely a timing involved with it. So that's really strong, and it makes operator mode ideal to open most fights with until you kind of have like an assessment on the situation or you get the enemy staggered or something. After that you have his Punisher stance. His Punisher stance is where you're going to get like your biggest damage from, as it has higher damaging, faster strikes. However, they're more committed, so it's harder to evade out of them and just be safe in general. You also want your in Punisher stance. The only way you can go into the counter is if you completely stop attacking and you hold R1, the block button, in operator stance. So that's also one thing. In operator stance you can block, in Punisher stance you can't block, you can only counter physical attacks. So Punisher stance is when you know you're ready to get some damage, and operator stance is when you're still trying to feel out the situation and you need like quick, diverse options. So let's go into the menu and talk about his skills. Okay, so first up we have Braver. Braver is as straightforward as it gets. It's a relatively quick single target damage option. It gets the job done for what it is, and it can actually stagger certain enemies really quickly, so it's a pretty decent move to try out in one-on-one situations. However, there's other moves that feel like they have more utility in more situations. However, but Braver is still a pretty solid option. Next up we have Focus Thrust. So Focus Thrust is going to be one of his main moves that you use in like bigger, more intense battles. Read the description here. Lunge toward an enemy with a piercing strike that hits multiple times. Significantly increases stagger. Now this increasing stagger property is when the enemy goes into a pressured state. If you use this move at that time, you'll put a large amount of build up on the stagger bar. So this is really strong for that. It's really strong for getting enemies staggered so that you can get your highest damage potential out. So this move is really valuable for that, but being a mobile lunging thrust also makes it a decent quick mobile strike as well. Then we have Triple Slash. Triple Slash is a really good move for normal battles. So let's read the description. Slash 3 enemies in quick succession, dealing more damage with each blow. Now Triple Slash basically becomes strong because it's so fast. It can start up from a lot of range because Cloud will just almost seemingly teleport to the enemies and just hit them real quickly and then move on. And it says slash 3 enemies, but sometimes even if there's 3 enemies in the battle, he may only slash 2 if the third enemy is way too far away, he'll just go back and forth between two enemies instead of actually hitting three enemies. So there's definitely like a distance element to this to where he will only track within a certain range. But even then, like it's just solid. It does good damage. It can kill like weak or weakened enemies pretty quickly. And because it's so fast and mobile, there's very little chance of Cloud getting hit during it. Disorder. So this move right here is my absolute favorite. If you've watched any of my like combo videos and stuff, you've seen me use this move to great effect. This move is pretty strong, but it's especially just my favorite for its utility. So the way Disorder works, let's read the description. Deliver a devastating attack and switches mode in one fluid motion. So this is like a hard hitting single attack. And after you use it, you will automatically be in the other stance from what you started in. So if you start in operator mode and you use it, you'll be in Punisher mode afterwards. If you start in Punisher mode and use it, you're going to be in operator mode afterwards. What's really cool about this attack is that for certain enemies, normally like humanoid size enemies around the Cloud size, you can put enemies into pressure state with this move instantly. So just use this, they're pressured, that's it. This allows for you to not only just stagger enemies really fast right out the gate, but it also allows you to create like long extended combo loops or even infinites in some case. Even works on some of the bosses as well, humanoid sized bosses. So this move is just, it's really good. The operator version of the move I think is better in general because it has more movement. The Punisher version hits harder, but it's very stable. It's stationary, I should say. So unless the enemy is not moving, it can miss more easily. But the operator version is a lot stronger for mobility, and it has a better launch on it. It's better for staggering. Infinity's in, so this is the big damage move. This move hits incredibly hard. You can hit the damage cap very easily with this move. The main thing is that it's slow, so you have to use it when you know that the enemy is kind of exposed or not going to move. But it becomes one of the main moves to use when you're just trying to finish anything off or once you stagger an enemy. And even if you don't stagger an enemy, it can still be decently strong as long as the enemy doesn't move. Like if you can land this hit at any time, it's usually worth it because it just deals like a nice sizable chunk of damage. Blade Burst. This is Cloud's worst move, unfortunately, but I'll definitely talk about like ways you can use it and some of its strengths, but I would say this is easily Cloud's worst move. So what this is like, it's like a fan of projectile beams. One of the beams goes down the middle, like Cloud slashes down into the ground, and then beams come from the ground, one down the middle, two to the side, and it's like a fan shape. Now it sounds like a nice move, like a projectile crowd control tool, but it's so slow on startup that it's very hard to use effectively. So for instance, you could see a bunch of enemies crowded up and you're like, oh, I'm gonna blade burst them all. But by the time you start the move up, the enemies can quickly move and you will lose like that crowd control setup that you had. So unfortunately, the speed of this move makes it not as strong as it could be, as it's very difficult to set up ideal situations where you're hitting a lot of targets, which is the only thing that would make this move strong. This move's strong because it can hit a lot of enemies, but it's very difficult to do that. Here we have counter stance. So this is it. Ooh, this move right here, this is probably Cloud's best move. And the main reason for that is, there's two reasons actually. One is because it can counter almost every single attack in this game. So it can counter magic, it can counter some magic attacks, it can counter like projectiles, like gunfire and stuff like that, physical attacks. It can counter like almost there's some attacks it cannot counter, but almost every attack in the game can be countered with this, which is amazing. And it deals huge stagger damage. It's good for regular damage as well, but the stagger damage it can deal is pretty incredible. So for some enemies, you can put like a good 50 or more percent stagger on their bar with this move. So this is like such a good move. Unfortunately, you don't get it till the end of the game, which I guess I'm not surprised because it would probably trivialize some of the early game. So you're mostly going to get used out of this in hard mode and post game, but it's a very strong move, and I highly recommend learning how to use it effectively. Materia wise, like I said, Cloud is a pretty balanced character, so I don't think the materia selection for him is that big of a deal. I think if you want some ideas of what you can do, you can put HP up. HP up is going to allow you to be more tanky, because when Cloud does his counterattacks, he still takes reduced the damage during them. So having higher HP means that you can afford to take more reduced damage through counters. So HP up is good to make him bulky. Deadly dodge, I think Cloud has the best deadly dodge animation in the game. You can see it over here in this little sample on the side. So it's like a very quick 3-hit area attack. It's absolutely amazing, honestly. So deadly dodge is an option. You don't have to have it. I would fit it in if you want to fit it in. You don't have to, but Cloud definitely has one of the best deadly dodges in the game, so it's worth taking advantage of. Outside of that, you can kind of pick whatever looks good to you. Let me actually put parry on. Now Cloud's parry, the parry is a really interesting move. I think Cloud's parry is okay, but it's not great. The thing about Cloud's parry is it kind of has like a fast startup, but it doesn't move as far as regular roll, and it has more recovery time than the regular roll. But you can also combine it with regular roll. So you could do like regular roll into parry to get like almost an extended dodge. So it works out that way. But I think that like it's not as good as someone like Tifa. Alright, so let's go into a battle. Okay, so in this first battle is kind of like a little like a short and hectic battle, so I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to show, but I'm gonna try to show disorder off, staggering with disorder. I'm gonna try to show counter stance if the mobile enemy uses his twister attack. So let's see what we can do here. But this might be a little messy. I'm not gonna lie. This first round is always kind of messy for me. So here we are, right there. You can see I just used operator mode lock on for that mobile opener. Time to get serious. So let me kind of show you again. So from that distance, I was able to reach the enemy. So see, he's casting Thundaga right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get over there, use disorder. So what I did there is instantly pressured him and knocked him out of his Thundaga cast animation. And then from here, I'm just gonna finish him off. Well, or not. Alright, so that guy's dead. So here, this enemy right here is super mobile. So I want to talk about how you can keep up with a mobile enemy. First off, you can use the operator mode lock-on attack, like I showed this. You can also use Cloud's hold square attack in operator mode, which has some tracking as well. So let me kind of show that off. So that attack right there, this sort of spinning slash, that's his hold square. And as you can see, like before Cloud activated it, he kind of moved a short distance towards the enemy. So this is really good for tracking when enemies have moved out of the way of your normal string. And then I can also use disorder as well and just get a very mobile setup going. So against mobile enemies like that, you want to use mobile options, and Cloud has a lot of good ones. Okay, so this enemy right here, I'm going to kind of show an extended combo on him using disorder. I'm going to use Disorder to pressure him, and then I'm basically just going to finish him off with a series of Disorder combo loops. Alright, so here we go. Got him pressured. So as you can see there, that was a little sloppy in some of my follow-ups, but you kind of get the idea that I was using Disorder to keep him pressured and immobilized. So this enemy right here, it's hard to show anything like really specific against him, but I can kind of show off like how good this operator slash is. It's very mobile. Actually, I thought that. So you see it's very mobile. It gets me in there so that I can start dealing damage. This is going to be a slow, honestly this is just going to be kind of a slow, boring fight, so I don't have a lot to say during it, but I really want to show you the fight after this because it does have a lot to showcase. This fight's just kind of whatever. We use focus thrust since he's pressured. Oh, he moved all the way. Alright, let's try to hit him with that focus thrust. Alright, we got the stagger. Yo, let me just get extra fancy right now. Use a limit break. My man is dead. I didn't talk about limit breaks, but I guess I'll talk about that after this. Limit breaks are they're very straightforward, honestly, so I don't feel like I have a lot to talk about with them, but I'll talk about them after this. Okay, so this enemy right here, I'm going to show off the power of counter stance. I want you to like watch how fast his stagger bar fills up whenever I use the counter stance.
I'll end this.
I could have countered that. Yo, this guy... Alright, so watch this. So that was about 25%. Not as much as some other enemies, but it's still a pretty decent chunk considering that it's a stagger. So now that he's staggered, I can use an assortment. I can use Infinity's End, for instance. This might actually kill him or do a lot of damage. Okay, never mind. I'm just wrong with everything right now. This enemy actually takes reduced physical damage, so that's probably why the stagger and all the damage isn't as high. Yeah, because he has resistance to physical damage. So counter stance. What we got here? This is our Infinity's End. I just want to counter stance him some more. That deals really good damage too. I don't know if you paid attention. I guess more impressive than the stagger versus him was the damage. That actually dealt like a pretty sizable chunk of his health. And I don't know, I don't really have anything special to show against this enemy because this enemy is really weird. I'm just gonna try to kill him really fast. If he doesn't kill me first. He might actually kill me because I don't have my thunder resistance right now. Oh. Yo, can I get this? Can I get this? Hold on. Thunder. Ah. Sloppy, but we made it. We made it. So that's basically it. I definitely recommend, I will link it in the bottom below, I will link my solo arena play of all the characters. If you want to see like more application of some of these moves, definitely check out the Cloud section of that. And that's basically it. Cloud is a pretty balanced character. He can play however you want him to, but I highly recommend mastering the use of his counters and mastering moves like Disorder and his counter stance. Will definitely make him a really strong character, as these are two moves that are really unique and powerful to him. Limit breaks, let's get in here. We have Ascension. Ascension, you saw me use it. It's like a multi-hit move. It's good at building up stagger. It's really good damage as well. This move just becomes pretty effective. It can, even though it focuses on a single target, you can actually hit a lot of enemies like as collateral damage pretty easily. Like I've killed a group of 4 enemies with this move before, just because they would run into the multi-hits. Cross Slash in comparison is pretty straightforward. Single target, good damage move. I think Ascension's just way better across the board. Not a lot of reason to use Cross Slash once you get Ascension. I think Cross Slash charges faster. That might be the only reason to use it, but I think Ascension's just way better in more situations, so it's the way to go. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. I hope this was helpful for you, and I will work on the other character guide.